Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. A week ago, I posted a morning briefing about the white media narrative that Donald Trump is going to be terrified if Kamala Harris picks one of these individuals to be her running mate. It was the Huffington Post who put that story out there, saying that if Kamala Harris picked a Democrat governor from one of the battleground states like Arizona or Pennsylvania, then that would terrify Trump. He'd be scared to death because Trump can't win unless he carries those battleground states. He needs the battleground states, and if you want to politically checkmate him, you choose a governor that comes from one of those battleground states, and Trump will be terrified because that already puts him into a hole that he can't dig his way out of. That was what the narrative was. And while these white media outlets have floated a few different names, there seems to be one name in particular that they always mention no matter what: Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. In fact, the white media's love affair with this guy actually predates this year. In fact, it actually predates him becoming governor. They've been talking about this guy as having presidential aspirations or presidential potential before he won the governorship. Lots of fawning over Shapiro, lots of Shapiro love going around. 2 days ago, when I posted the video about Democrat strategist Lindy Lee saying that Kamala Harris as the nominee is listening to black voters, that this is what black voters are owed, well, she also had a couple of things to say about Josh Shapiro, too.
And also my own governor, by the way, Josh Shapiro endorsed her. I think he would make a great vice presidential pick. I'm going to go everywhere and say that Josh Shapiro should be on this presidential ticket. He's a governor of a battleground state. This is a must-win state. Pennsylvania is no joke. The path to the White House runs straight through here.
So it seems that whenever you mention the name Josh Shapiro, you got a lot of folks in the Democratic Party who just spontaneously explode into orgasms. They just can't help themselves. They just dream about this man. During moments of passion, they scream his name. Hell, if they're on a TV show with a camera, they scream his name. Yes, Josh Shapiro is the governor of a battleground state, but keep in mind, there's others out there who don't carry his baggage. And yet, there's this love affair with this guy that continues. Now, Democrats have been attacking Donald Trump for paying hush money to a porn star. Totally understandable. By the way, that's the trial that he was convicted on 34 counts in, and the Democrats have been beating him over the head relentlessly about it. After all, if you got a guy who wants to be president, and he pays a woman to remain quiet about sexual impropriety, then that should automatically disqualify him from high office, much less the presidency. And this on top of Donald Trump's infamous Access Hollywood tape where he talks about grabbing women by their genitals, and because of his long-standing, well-established public record of lechery and sexual impropriety, he should be completely and thoroughly disqualified from the presidency because of how this guy treats women. The Democrats have hammered that point relentlessly. Donald Trump tried to keep a sexual scandal quiet by paying a woman money just to shut her up, and because of that, he should be automatically disqualified from the presidency. Well, don't look now, but it turns out that's exactly what Josh Shapiro did. Last year, one of Governor Shapiro's aides, a man named Mike Vereb, who served as Shapiro's Secretary of Legislative Affairs, was accused of making lewd and misogynistic remarks against a female colleague. She also claims that she was retaliated against when she spoke up about this treatment. Last year, Governor Shapiro paid this woman and her lawyers a settlement for $295,000. Now keep in mind, this money came from Governor Shapiro. He was the one who paid this, not this other individual. It was his office that agreed to pay this woman all of that money. Not surprisingly, Shapiro has declined to make any comments about this case, saying that he and his administration agreed in the settlement not to discuss it publicly. Now that's weasel words right there. He agreed not to discuss it publicly. To use that kind of wording, that's deliberately misleading. As if to make people think that this woman, she said, you better not talk about this publicly. No, what happened was he demanded that it not be discussed publicly, and she was the one who agreed. But now whenever anybody presses him about it, he's saying, well, we can't discuss. We agreed in the settlement not to discuss it publicly. Now keep in mind, all of this went down less than a year ago, and the white media did make a big deal about it. In fact, their infatuation with Shapiro as a presidential contender has been going on relentlessly, as if none of this has been happening at all. So why has this sexual harassment settlement that Shapiro paid out come back to bite him in the butt now? Well, it's not because the left corner of the white media suddenly decided that his name being on the short list as a VP pick was worth dredging up his past. They didn't want to look into it at all. This has become a story to the limited extent that it's been covered because the white media has been heavily ignoring it. When a woman named Erin McClelland, who made a failed bid to become treasurer of Pennsylvania, endorsed North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper to be Kamala's VP pick. McClelland said, "I want a VP that's secure enough to be second under a woman, is content to be VP, and won't undermine the president to maneuver his own election, and doesn't sweep sexual harassment under the rug." When she said that publicly, that's when all of a sudden this can of worms was reopened. By the way, on a side note, Roy Cooper has since announced that he's withdrawing from contention to be Kamala's running mate, so this McClelland woman is great at picking winners. Democrats in Pennsylvania and outside of the state have circled the wagons for Shapiro after this woman made these remarks, but again, my original question still stands. If Donald Trump is not fit to be president because he paid a woman to be quiet about a sexual scandal, then why is it that Josh Shapiro is being treated differently? Josh Shapiro has been seeking the presidency for several years now, and this is the guy who you got a lot of the Democrats and a lot of the white media who just love this guy's stinking drawers for some strange reason. And as far as they're concerned, let's go ahead and give this man the nuclear codes, or at the very least, let's place him a heartbeat away from the presidency because we like him so much. Yeah, but this is the class, caliber, and character of the man. Doesn't it matter? Apparently not. But this is where I have to engage in deep realpolitik. I personally don't care about the internal strife of Shapiro's office or the palace intrigue any more than I cared about who Trump paid off, any more than I cared about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky's sexcapades back in the 90s. My problem with Josh Shapiro is that he totally ignored black voters when he was running for office. He wouldn't have won without support from Philadelphia, a black city, and yet Josh Shapiro went out of his way to pretend that black people don't even exist, both before he ran and after he won office. The way that he acts towards black people, you would think that his name was Ben Shapiro instead of Josh Shapiro. That is the real crime here. That is what makes him unfit to be governor, much less vice president. Not because he paid money to make a sexual harassment scandal go away. Clearly the white media picks and chooses when that's important. But because he's done what Lindy Lee herself called political malpractice. He ignored the Democratic Party base, the black vote, and yet Lindy Lee herself is gushing over this guy. So apparently even political malpractice is completely permissible in her eyes, so long as it benefits someone who she favors. That's the game that's going on here. Well, I'll tell you this. Josh Shapiro paid a lot of money to make a sexual harassment scandal go away. But unless he pulls his head out of the clouds and starts finding money for the Democratic Party's base, then the next thing that's going to go away are all those black votes he needs. And that's going to disappear completely for free. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Burkett Cochrane, Kadir Abdul Salam, Brenda McPherson, Hildman Gallo, and Angela Merritt. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.